Time keeps moving on. Good morning. Okay, the first step is basically covered. The water is a little moving, so if it were still, that would be the question. All the debris that's washed up here, all the organic matter, all the vegetation that was here. Remember, it was so grassy, and now it's all overcome by the water. Both readings today are very, very strong. Maybe you looked at them already. They are big, very big rewards connected with very big, very challenging pathways. What's the big reward for Lent? It's a pathway. It's a pilgrimage, a virtual pilgrimage. And then the psalm is, in a way, bringing in a very important perspective for both of the readings. Blessed are they who hope in the Lord. Both of the readings help us to focus on what we have to do, consequences of our doing. And the psalm says, blessed are they who hope in the Lord, to put our hope in the Lord. Quack, 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 quack. It's beginning to rain here a little bit. I didn't think it was going to do that. Well, we can see how heavy it will be. So the first one is at the end of Deuteronomy, and Moses is laying out the framework of the covenant. And there's the promised land in front of you. And it's conditioned to the heart turning to the Lord, keeping the covenant. Staying in the promised land is the heart keeping the covenant. And one could imagine easily then for the generations after the exile reading this, it would have a completely powerful impact on conscience, because the experience was that it was all lost because the covenant had not been kept. So in this telling of Deuteronomy, it's looking toward the future, but in the regular reading of the people, it's a reading of experience had. And now they are seeing in that way why they lost the land. And that's why we can say it's good again to go back to the Psalm verse, blessed are they who hope in the Lord. So in order to be faithful to the covenant, one would need to hope in the Lord for his grace, the grace to be faithful. In the opening video yesterday of the virtual pilgrimage, Kathleen emphasized that 99% of the work is the Lord's in our Lent that we've just started, that it is grace. These trees are very young. They're only about, I think, 50 or 60 years old. About my age. I'd have to ask again to see precisely, but I was very surprised when I heard a couple of years ago that they were planted relatively recently, whereas the eucalyptus trees, I understand, are more than 100 years old. And obviously we have cut off their big branches. They could come back again. The branches of the eucalyptus trees are very weakly held to this trunk, and so they can break easily. And where a lot of people are visiting, it's a huge responsibility to not prune them because they could break off, and accidents have been known to happen, not infrequently. And in the second reading, the enticement already has, let's say, an experience behind it, and it is people who have gotten to know Jesus. They've already become familiar with him. And maybe most of us doing Lent know who Jesus is. And we've had our own history with him, just like the Jewish people looking out on Mount Nebo with Moses, instructing the people before they would enter the Holy Land. Now they're looking out after the experience, and they're processing it. In a certain sense, we have a little bit after experience, although I would say we have the most of it ahead of us yet. And that is to know Jesus, to know and to appreciate the gift he is. And therefore, if you want to be my disciple, take up your cross and follow me. And the first reading, or this gospel reading also, on this first day after Ash Wednesday, brings into focus a major thread of the whole purpose of Lent, which is actually accompanying Jesus on the path of redemption of mankind. So the promised land is articulated in a very different form. It's not about entering a land of milk and honey. It's about the salvation. The pathway of the Messiah is a path of suffering. And our Lent is going to open into Holy Week and Easter. And we all want Easter, but Holy Week is part of the process. And so we hear these lines in this regard that Jesus speaks to the disciples. The Son of Man must suffer greatly and be rejected by the leadership and die and on the third day rise again. And if anybody wishes to come along with me on this path, he must deny himself, take up his cross every day and follow me. So it's not about giving up cookies and sweets and smoking and things like that. Although smoking is a more dangerous one, so it's not good for my health. But it's about participating in the redemption of humanity. And if you want to be in on this with me, this is the path. So obviously for those who do not know Jesus, this topic is far too early. But those who know him, and they are drawn to be his disciples, he's very clear about the road to be taken. The pathway won't be easy. And take up your cross also speaks a lot about self-dominion, about each one having a cross, which is one of the ways to understand the text. So we all have our own cross to carry. And we can be fighting it, or we can be taking it up and moving forward. And for some people it might be a very difficult child. It might be difficulties in the marriage relationship, temperamental issues that are quite the burden of a spouse, changes of mood. And I need to live with that today, and I can't create civil war over it in the family. I need to take up my cross, ask for the grace. And there this line of the psalm comes in very helpfully. Blessed are they who hope in the Lord. So I take up my cross in that spirit and say, Lord, you know you will give me the strength to carry that today. And there's great salvation there. There's great togetherness in the person, and to carry the burden of the other where we are. And sometimes we cannot unleash ourselves from this other, especially if it's a child. If it's my parent who is failing and it's very difficult, a big burden. If it is a sibling in a shared business and there's irresponsibility, there's difficulty, and it can't all be sorted out in one day, then I need to carry the burden of my brother. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. To carry the cross of each day. Maybe at work there are some people professionally that are not pulling their weight. Oh, we got a beautiful ray of sun here. And I have an unfair share to carry at the moment. Maybe it's for a day or two, for a couple of days. Maybe that person has big problems at home in the family. Maybe a child is very sick. Maybe there's worry. Maybe there's financial issues. Maybe there's issues about even losing the house. Look what we got here. The fishermen at the Sea of Galilee. Isn't that lovely? Oh, you see the line on the water there. So we might see some action now. So people, we've got a lot to think about there, about the wonderful blessings of the covenant to reach the promised land of humanity, the promised land of a redeemed heart, the promised land of my own heart blessed, doing the right thing, being generous, hoping in the Lord to carry us through trials and difficulties. Oh, they're tossing stuff out in the water. Oh, there he's catching the net now. Look at that. That's a net, people. Pulling in the nets at the Sea of Galilee. I know we're just gone over time now, but let's stay for a moment here. And she's waving to me, or if he's doing something with his hand. Oh, you know, that was, I think, little fish he was throwing back in. Because if there's small ones caught on the net and they're too small, they toss them back in the water. And are they pulling in their nets full or empty? Those are the gospel stories, right? May your haul in Lent be a great haul of blessing from the Lenten practice. And if we trust in God, it will be. So that's what it means to pull in the nets for a catch. I don't think we ever gotten this close up doing this work. There's a big one now. Oh no, they're tossing them into a container there, not just overboard. I don't know if somebody counted all the tossed already. Well, people, that was a nice experience. We didn't plan. And the nice sunlight to finish off here. Coming through the clouds. People, God bless you. See you later, alligators. Thank you for joining. May you have a blessed day of pilgrimage today. Keep walking on this pilgrimage of prayer. Blessed are they who hope in the Lord. Lord, we hope in you.